All right, welcome. Is it Thursday already? How are we doing?
Is.
It
It's been a
is. We
very
made it to
long
almost the
week.
end of the week.
Almost there. The first 4 days happen in a blink, and then the drag till Saturday takes about 4 weeks.
What's
Or
up,
is that just
Kaneho?
me?
I see you. How's
All
everybody
right.
doing out there? Chat, Kaneho, what you up to? Getting getting crazy this weekend?
Should we ask that question? Because if we ask the question, we don't let them have
Well, I know
plausible
Kaneho.
deniability. Oh, I know. No, I was just kidding. Can I give them plausible deniability? Let
No,
them
he
be
doesn't
like,
get plausible deniability because I know him. That's what I'm saying. Like
oh,
Oh,
you
I
know better.
see.
I know
You
what
know
he's
better.
getting into. I don't
All right.
know.
So welcome to the live stream, everybody. And if
Already
you're
derailed, so that's always
yeah,
a good start.
I don't think we did that bad this time. A little idle chat in the beginning is, I think, a good thing. And then if you're catching us on YouTube, welcome as well. Uh, just the stream called 2021 Retrospective dropped on the 10th. The stream called talking about our favorite technology features dropped on the 17th. So that was this Monday. And then the next one, the pros and cons and best practices of peer development, is dropping next Monday. So you guys can look forward to that. If you miss one of these live streams, you can watch the train wreck on YouTube on Monday. So good stuff there. Um, did you guys have anything you want to cover? Anything before we jump into the topic for tonight?
Not really. I think at least on my
Uh,
end.
did we take note of Microsoft's
Oh,
very
I guess should we cover
impressive
that?
purchase?
I think that's
I don't
worthy of
know.
talking about. I mean, I know some people sometimes people get kind of doomy and gloomy whenever it's Microsoft that's buying stuff, but they bought GitHub and that's been mostly good. And I love me some StarCraft. So, I can at least pretend like that's going to mean another StarCraft will come out. Right? Am I allowed to pretend that?
You can
Some cool
pretend
games that they just
whatever you
snatched up.
want. I'm
Yeah.
I'm I'm not on the 100% on board with the Microsoft thing.
Oh yeah. Wow. What are you thinking? What's
Oh, I just
the
look at
reason
things
behind your
like Skype. And it's like, oh, that was actually a very cutting edge technology at the time, and then
it
somehow they
died?
ruined it. Like it
Uh
got so bad when they bought it. I don't know. It
so
doesn't have a good track record of
They did well
acquiring
with
companies.
Minecraft,
I
maybe.
mean, did they
and then this
change
this little
anything? Like it's the same thing, but not.
well, if they changed a lot, people would probably be upset, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's usually
And
how
then
it goes out. They're like, "Hey,
yeah,
here's our new stuff," and everyone's like, "We like the old stuff."
true. Now they
Like
do have
connectivity, hearing people talking, or
um
Okay.
they speaking of track records though, this is little game console. I don't know if you guys have heard about it called Xbox. That's pretty popular still, right?
I
No, I'm getting
I
a
have
no.
no idea what that is.
No idea. Is
No
that
idea
like a
what that is.
PlayStation? Well, then I guess my point's mute. All right.
Is that like the weaker version of my PC?
Oh, all
Okay,
consoles, the
sorry.
weaker version of your PC.
Yeah.
Although I'm loving me some Switch. Yes, everyone.
Oh, I do like
We're off
Switch. Yeah.
topic. I'm gonna talk about video games now because well, we talked about Microsoft. I got Link's Awakening. I got
Nice.
Breath of the Wild, which I totally get why that game like sucks at people's lives. And I'm absolutely over the moon for Metroid Dread. That is such an intense game. It is great.
I don't think I've played that
Um,
one yet.
but that's Nintendo, not Microsoft. So uh, you haven't played that? I'm a big Metroid fan, so um, the
You
fact they
watch
made one that's
the Metroid
scary.
speedrunnings? Yeah, you ever watch those Metroid speedruns?
We watched a lot of those. I got a couple kids who like to speedrun Super Metroid,
Oh, there you
and
go.
my 4-year-old, because of that, became a huge fan of speedrunning. So when you know, Daddy lay down with me at bedtime, instead of watching all the stuff that you normally watch with 4-year-old, we're watching speedrunning. Sometimes it's oats and goats, muted, of course, because that most of what's being conversated isn't appropriate. But
Yeah, it's fair.
yeah, yeah. So big Metroid fan, big into speedrunning. So, but yeah, we got off topic
Cool,
of the
cool, cool.
Microsoft thing, but
Yeah,
oh well.
that happens.
Anyways, So, any other points on that, or
No, I think that's going to be one of those. We'll see how how it goes, what changes they want to make. Um, are they going to sink more money into things that we appreciate, like that I appreciate, like video games and their gaming sector, or are they going to pull from those and put into other things? And we'll see.
Yeah, you just have to give
Yeah.
it time and see what
Mhm.
what they do and whether you like it or not.
yeah, I just think money equals more games, but maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. All right. So the topic tonight is we actually asked the community to give us some questions to answer. A
Sorry.
lot of time. Oh,
My
what's up?
Spotify popped up in front of us for a second.
I take it back. We're DJs now. Prepare for Wiggy O'Grady is going to bring in his Spotify music stream. No, so we asked for topics. We get questions sometimes in the stream, but I thought, hey, if you give us some questions ahead of time, maybe we can just have a list up, and then even people who don't make it can ask the question, pick it up on YouTube later, right?
Yeah.
So we will dive into those. The first one is a good one. I'm looking forward to. They're asking about undergraduate degrees. So undergraduate degree, I have to learn to talk, in computer science, is it
Mhm.
worth it or not?
Well,
Um,
Lee,
I guess this depends on a whole lot of things, actually. um, I would say, like, if you're still young, and by that I mean like 30, I go with 30 or under, and you're not well established in anything, maybe that might be a decent approach, assuming you don't already have an undergrad in something else. So if you never went to college and you're in your mid to late 20s, whatever, and you're thinking about getting into IT, that might be a viable scenario, I guess, depending on things like what's available near you. Is online an option for you? Is cost is always going to be a factor for pretty much, well, most people. It'll be a factor. um, I don't know though that an undergrad degree is going to give you a whole lot of focus, unless there's just stuff out there that I'm not aware of. When I was looking, or have been looking over the few years, I know it gets better, but I didn't find a lot of focus programs, I guess is what I'm going to say. So it was a lot of general stuff, which is nothing wrong with that, because I would have loved to have had that myself. But I don't know that an undergrad degree is going to like give you a really sharp focus on something. Like if you want to grow up to be a data engineer, like Anthony, I don't know that you're going to find an undergrad degree that's going to make that possible.
I'm grinning because I'm imagining a 30-year-old saying, I want to grow up to be like Anthony. Man, I feel old.
I want to grow up to be like Anthony.
First of all, imagine anyone saying that at all.
I would say that the undergraduate degree is important. For the fact that it shows that you've completed something. It has nothing to do with the things you're going to learn, but it does hold you accountable for at least 2 to 4 years, saying, I did this. And a company can see that and be like, okay, well, at least they have the drive to stick to something for a set amount of time to get it done. That's why I feel a degree is important. Now, there's other ways of doing that. You can go to trade schools. Trade schools give you a very good focus in software development and data. I know they have a lot of data-focused trade schools. What's the other one that's real big right now is cybersecurity. A lot of people are getting into trade
Yeah.
school for cybersecurity, or even
Yeah.
an actual degree, computer science with a focus of cybersecurity or something like that. You can still kind of get it pretty narrowed. Um, it's gotten a lot better than it was.
Yeah. But I mean, no matter what, when you do a degree, you got to start out with I joke and I always say like underwater basket weaving.
Yeah.
But you got to do your psych, and you got to do your business administration, and
Mhm.
there might be like a how to use Word documents in there. But eventually you get to the meat and potatoes, your stuff.
Yeah.
And I think people forget that, like, because we do those, classes that we are obviously never going to use again. But a lot of times people forget that those classes are also, to get you more social, to get you talking to people, to learn things that
To
are
make you
outside
more
your field.
well-rounded, to
Yeah,
round
yeah,
out people, right?
yeah. You get more
And
well-rounded, and you'll fit in better at a company. Or you're doing an interview and someone brings up fishing or whatever, and you can relate to them because you've learned about that somehow. Like, you're going to probably connect better.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
yeah, so the question says worth it or not, and I think, and I know Lee mentioned this in the beginning of his spiel. It depends, right? So if we're talking you're of the age where you're just getting out of high school and thinking about going to college, um, it's a way for you to actually learn all the stuff you need to learn in a very structured manner. And some people excel in, and some people need a lot of structure. So different companies look for different things, and I do feel like a lot more companies are it's softening up on whether or not that's a requirement to have a degree. They might even still ask for it on the rec sheet. You see that on LinkedIn or whatever. But usually, if you can get past the HR fence and you can get talking to a hiring manager, they just want to know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So now, again, it depends, right? Like if you're trying to get hired on as a junior or some sort of apprentice, you're going to need something. If you're not showing up with a degree, um, you're going to want to have shown up with something you've built and a basic understanding. And there's
Oh, yeah.
a lot of vocabulary, which was really hard for me starting out. I went the no degree route, right? So learning how to talk
Yep.
to people who studied hard and took their craft seriously was for me one of the bigger milestones, but not milestones,
Yeah.
bigger struggles.
Mhm.
Because it not only it was hard for me to learn, and in one room this person talks this way, in another room somebody talks a different way, but it was hard for me to deal with the imposter syndrome that comes with not understanding what they're asking for.
Yep.
If you got that, yeah, you may not be able to code your way out of a wet paper bag, but you have learned a lot of that vocabulary, and I'm not downing that. That's again was a struggle of mine.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, there's a couple of interesting things in the chat. So Kevin of Tech is talking about certificates or certifications.
Yeah.
And then there's a question about, does this apply, same conversation apply to recent high school graduates? The discussion seems to be leaning towards 30-year-olds. Well, I was saying for a young person, meaning anyone 30 or under. So what I was saying, I still feel like applies to a recent high school graduate.
Yeah.
In terms of, is it worth it or not? You still have to figure out, cost. Does it have the focus that you want? Or is it just going to be really general and foundational? And is that going to satisfy your goal, or are you going to have to go a step further, which is eventually going to lead us into an upcoming question on our list. So I think it's relevant for anyone who's, I'm going to say 17 to 30, because at 17,
Yep.
maybe you're thinking, or in my opinion, you should probably be thinking about college or certifications or what am I going to do to earn money to support myself when I grow up?
I was not thinking about that at 17. That's why I went and joined the military, which worked out awesome. Loved it. But that gave me time to think about it. And when I got back, I went
Sure.
headfirst into degrees and stuff. But I agree. It's not for us so much at this age. Honestly, it'd be a whole different answer for me. Like if someone my age or one of you guys asked, should I go get Anthony, if you said, should I go get a computer science degree? At your point, like where you are right now, no, that wouldn't be as beneficial. Which I think we're going to talk about experience here coming up, right? First.
yeah.
Okay. So that
But yeah,
leads into that.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. Right now, where I'm at, and probably it's probably the same for you guys, but you can tell me if it's not true. At this point in my career, I'm at a level where 4 years of grind is worth more than 4 years of
Oh yeah.
intro to psychology, right? And again, I'm not dogging
Yeah.
college. When I'm talking to
Yeah,
one of my
yeah.
sons, I have a son who's interested in going into tech, and even though I know he could probably um, have a good interview and show up with a capstone project and get a job as a developer right now, I'm having him lean towards going to college because right now he has the time to put into that.
Yeah.
But your
Right.
mileage may vary. The my depends was basically if you just want to like hoodie up and do some coding and whatever, you can 100% learn your craft and especially with launch code and there's other places out there like that you can get in there. If you want to suit and tie up and work for a Microsoft or be a high up at Amazon or a FANG company, you it depends on whether or not you can get all of that
Yep.
level 400 CS stuff going without the college. That's up to you. It's still possible, of course. At least I believe so. We ready for the next
I
question?
also want to put out.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I wanted to point out one other thing. So the question is about an undergrad degree in computer science. And I want to point out that most people who are in IT don't have a degree in computer science.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean none, but very few people that I talk to, when I say, tell me your story, how'd you get into IT? Say, oh, well, I went to X university and graduated in blah year with a computer science degree. Some, yes, but a lot of people are in IT that never thought they would be doing that as their job.
Yeah.
Like me, for example. I have an undergrad degree, but it has nothing to do with information technology.
I'm pretty sure the entire BI team has 2 people who have a CS degree. The BI team I work on. So,
Yeah.
And then I think we're picking up an apprentice. We're starting to grow, which is exciting.
Cool.
So we're going to start picking up apprentices. And I mean, when I talk to them, I'm not asking for a degree, right? I'm hunger, interest, that kind of thing.
So, I mean, I would say if you're thinking about a 4-year school and you're considering computer science, sure, but I don't know that I would lock myself in to saying a computer science degree. Look around and see what else you're interested in. You could always minor in computer science. You could be like that person who stays in school for 7 years because they can't figure out what they want to do. You switch your majors several times. I'm not advocating that, but it does happen. Just wanted to point that out.
Don't do anything with that now. So electronic engineering is kind of nowhere near me messing with coding anymore.
Yeah.
So that was it. I think we can go on to the next question.
All right, cool. All right. So let's see here. General focus versus a specific track, i.e. software development, robotics, big data. That isn't worded like a question, but I think you just touched on that, Lee, about focus.
Oh yeah. Still, I guess talking about undergrad degrees, what should you focus on? And it doesn't necessarily have to be computer science. I don't feel like. If you have an interest in computers, you think it might be worthwhile, then sure, take some computer science classes, see if you like it. Maybe you hate it. Maybe you get turned off by, the classes themselves aren't that great. Maybe you're learning Python, but it's on, 4 versions ago. That sort of stuff, and you feel like you're not getting your money's worth out of even taking the class, then that's something to consider as well.
Get that Python 2 out of here.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and you also have to, take into account that being in college or being in something for X amount of time, it gives you that option to see if you're bored of it. Like, you might really like computers, or you might think you really like computers, or think you want to be in IT. But if you do the college or you start doing courses and realize you're getting burnt out, or it's just not for you, that's your time that you didn't start a whole career in IT and then decide that. You're able to go to college, figure out, like Lee said, switch your minor, switch your major around, and figure out what fits, and then
Yeah.
that's what I liked about being able to do that.
Next question's a lot along the same lines, and I'm curious if the answers is the same or not. But undergraduate degree in business intelligence or data specifically, um, that versus getting a computer science degree, is that basically the same answer for you guys? Or
Honestly,
I think so.
I would say that if you start getting too specific with a degree, it loses like its general appeal. So like if someone sees a computer science degree and that covers 50 different fields, that can be seen by all of those fields as important. But if someone comes into, my job doing engineering and says, I have a Power BI degree, to me, I'd be like, well, that's cool. I like that you, again, spent the time to get a degree, but that's worthless. Like anything you know from Power BI isn't going to translate to software engineering. So I don't know.
okay,
Some of it.
so I feel like a lot of these answers have been kind of trending towards like almost career advice, college advice. A lot of makes you figure out what you want to do and all that, which is all very very valuable. But I kind of want to answer the question from the point of view of I want to do X. What should I do? And for the other questions, the answer was basically, it depends, yada yada yada. But with business intelligence, not necessarily data, but with business intelligence, there's a couple branches like machine learning and data science, where yes, you can learn it on your own, but there's some heavy math in there. I think one of the downfalls that we see sometimes is people jump into data science, and a lot of that is statistical analytics that not everyone can learn on their own, right? They just want to do a drag and drop.
I thought you said Power BI degree.
I thought I said business intelligence.
No, you probably did, but in my head, I guess I was thinking BI
you translated
degree.
Power BI. Okay. Yeah. So
No, you're talking like, wait, no. Yeah, continue.
So in that for business intelligence, there's a couple groupings where I believe we still need to, whether it's college or not, learn the old school statistics and everything, because that's what they're really doing. You can learn how to make a report, but the actual data science, I think, is still a science that needs to be learned. That's me. Yeah. I don't do any of that. Yeah. I rely on data scientists to do that, and now my job is to get them the data and do all that. So
yeah, I like re-steering the question. So if we're talking about a person who is certain they know they want to go into IT, then that does, I think, change it somewhat. I think if you're 18 years old and you want to get into IT, you still have to think about some of the things we've already talked about in terms of whether it's worth it or not. But if you like school, you like learning, you like writing papers, and you can afford it by whatever means, then a 4-year undergrad degree of some kind that offers you either computer science or some kind of concentration like business intelligence that you're interested in, then do it. I think that would be fine. If you're the same thing, if you're 25 or 30 and you've now decided, I want to get into IT, I don't have a degree, I left high school and I just went and got a job. If all of those things are still yes for you, in other words, you like school, you like writing papers, you have the ability somehow to pay for the school, sure, do it. I think if the answers to those questions are no, then the answer is it's not worth it, because you probably won't finish, and you'll feel like you've wasted whatever time and or money was involved, and you should, in my opinion, go a different direction.
Yep. And that's also one of those things about, if you feel like it's not worth it and you still do it, then it's not worth it because you're not going to be giving it 100%.
Yeah. Kevin in Tech says I went to school for information
tech.
technology and security, but I've been coding since I graduated. So
Does he mean high school? Since you graduated high school, he's been coding since then, or I don't know. It could go either way, I guess.
Yeah, Kevin, if you could clarify in the chat, that would be great. Master's degree. So, which is an upcoming question. So, do you want to lead us into the master's degree question?
Yeah, so it's along the same vein. They're all very similar. Master's degree, is it worth it or not if you don't have an undergraduate degree in computer science? So I think what that means is I got undergraduate degree in American history. Is getting a master's degree, is it worth it? Will help me in my IT career.
For me,
What do you think, Sean or O'Grady?
For me, I would say that I want to get my master's. It's going to happen. For no reason business related at all. It's for me to get my master's. Like, that's my personal goal. I don't see it hurting any career opportunities, but at this point in my career, I don't see it opening any. And if you're going for your master's, you've been in a career of some sort. Now, if you're wanting to get your master's to get your foot into IT because your undergraduate was something non-IT related, I could see that being beneficial. But also your master's, that's a lot of work to get your foot into something. I would suggest, honestly, if you wanted to go that route, to go get another undergraduate degree in IT. But that'd be my opinion.
Okay. So I feel like I can talk to this a little bit, and I'll explain why. So I got it nothing at all to do with IT.
Yeah.
Back when I got that degree, and even when I got a master's degree, which also has nothing to do with IT, if you had said in 10 years you will be working in IT, I would have said you don't know what you're talking about. I have zero interest in doing that. I play games on my computer and I surf the internet. That's the extent of my interest in computers, and I'm certainly not going to make money working in IT. That's what I would have said to you.
Yeah.
So through a long winding road, I ended up in IT beginning in like February 2008. And this is going to touch on our very first stream. Not too long after that, I'm going to use, I began to be very self-conscious about the fact that I knew nothing about IT. I had no degree. I didn't even have any like local, education from a local college. Like I hadn't taken any classes, nothing. But here I am in an IT role, not officially yet in the IT department, but I'm in an IT role, and I'm working with SQL Server. I'm building reports in SQL Server reporting services, and it's just ballooning. But I'm very much aware of the fact that I'm just making it up as I go along. And I looked into the whole getting an undergrad degree in computer science, and a lot of them said, yeah, you could do that, but you already have the ability with your existing degree. You could just transfer credits, pursue a master's degree, and be done quicker.
Oh, okay.
And you could focus on the thing that you're interested in instead of redoing English Lit or whatever, which, by the way, I wasn't going to do. If that had been my only option, I was like, nope, you can keep that. So that's my story about it. I have not pursued master's degree. I have no reason to do probably
Mhm.
ever at this point, because now I'm like not quite 14 years into my tech career. I don't really need a master's degree. Um, so that's my take on that. What are your thoughts, Anthony?
All right. And then I'm also going to respond to Kevin again at the same time. So Kevin says, I only had one job, which I agree was useful because it was a requirement for the job. Other than that, it was a bigger investment that has paid off to be. So IT has been great, but a lot of what I've done, the master's degree wasn't beneficial knowledge wise. So yeah, and I get that. Um, so what I think about all of these last couple questions is basically this: if you're just trying to get a job in IT, if you're trying to become a developer, I think I've been thinking very developer centric, but there's also sysadmins and whatnot. Um, you could do that without a degree, right?
Yep.
So you don't. So in other words, you don't need the masters. Um, where that comes, it's what some of us forget because we already have the job, we already have the title. It is not easy to get that first job or two.
Yeah.
Once you get that first job or two, it gets a
Yeah.
lot easier.
Yeah,
Once
because
you
then
have
you've
3 years
worked
experience,
somewhere. Yeah.
yeah, there's an there's a huge chasm of space between I've coded on my own, but no one's paid me a 40-hour a week salary
Mhm.
and 3 years of experience as a developer. There's
Mhm.
just it's unimaginable the distance there. And sometimes we forget it because we passed up that line already.
Yeah. That's
So
true.
a degree will help you get past the HR firewall, and you might be able to get in as that intern or apprentice at a co-op.
Yeah.
But if you manage to get into that first job, then no, you don't need a degree, and I don't think you need the master's, unless you're wanting to have director in your title, right, or VP.
Yeah.
And now, of
Yeah.
course, there's people who can cite situations where that's not the case. But for a lot of companies, I refer to them as kind of the more button-up companies,
Mhm.
or if they're going to look at 7 different people, the person with a master's degree in whatever is going to look more educated, and you
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
understand that bias is there. It may not affect you, but it might. So
Yeah.
that's my take.
And I think that chasm is kind of where boot camps got created from, or why those came into existence, because you have these people who maybe have no experience at all. They can't go, they don't have a degree either, but they want to get in.
Yeah.
Um, they can't go get the degree, but they could spend X dollars and concentrate on something for a week. Those are the worst boot camps, by the way. Or 4 to 6 weeks kind of thing, and it all depends. But I think boot camps tried to, and still try to fill or stand in that gap to bridge people.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's undergrad and master's questions, I think.
I lost audio.
I can hear me.
Okay, I heard you. Okay, good. I was just checking. I stopped hearing altogether. All right. Cool. All right, next question then, I guess. Sorry about that. Tech problems.
And
Uh,
I have to also say, with those degree questions, I come with a bias that I didn't pay for my degrees, so it's
that's
it's
true.
a little different for me to say what's worth
I-
something.
May I
because-
push against that and say you push with some sweat and grit and
I earned them, but I didn't truly
You've now
pay
fallen out
monetarily
of-
pay for them. Yes.
yeah, you earned. That's right. That's a better word.
Yes.
You earned them.
Yes.
Now fallen out of a plane once or twice.
It'd be the same as
Fair
someone
enough.
like getting a scholarship. It's a little more
Yeah.
bias coming from me, obviously. I'm more pro college because I didn't pay for college. So
Yeah, not
But
everyone
continue.
has
Yeah,
that opportunity. Okay.
Yeah.
So next one, also career related. Does experience, quote unquote, a portfolio website trump degrees? That's some hard wording there. Does a portfolio
Yes.
website trump a degree?
it's experience in general, or just saying you have like a portfolio, like a
It's
something they
saying-
can look at. Like, how much experience are we talking about?
That's true. There. So I guess answer either one: experience versus degree, or portfolio website and degree. They didn't specify that. That's pretty much verbatim. Does experience a portfolio website trump degrees?
I would say 1 year of experience is more beneficial than a 4-year degree of what you're going to learn or what your knowledge is. So like if you're hiring someone that was working somewhere for a year before, most likely they know more than someone who hasn't worked somewhere but has a 4-year degree. I mean, would we all agree on that? Lee's muted, but I think he agrees.
That might have been why I thought I couldn't hear. Okay. Yeah,
hear you.
still can hear you. But I can roll forward while you figure that out. So
Yeah. But yeah, I think that, so that'd be my take on it. Yeah.
check the button. Oh no. So for me, especially with programming, with development, experience carries a lot. Like I said, after about 2-3 years, it's a whole different world. It's just getting that first job that would be tricky, which you got to give yourself experience at that point. You got to build a few things, understand how things work. But degrees will help you get in the door at a big company, which will help you in the long run. So it can go either way. You know, if I'm in an interview for someone who's not going to be a junior position, I definitely want experience. I've heard plenty of people, in fact, over the years, complain about people who get their CS degree and then at the first job they can't code the way out of a wet paper bag. Yep. So
I don't think a company should be expecting someone coming in that has a degree that hasn't had an IT job to know what they're doing.
Right. You're getting a well-educated person who wants to do the job versus someone who already has experience in the job.
Now, if they show up and pretend like they know what they're doing, there's going to be an issue because you might bring something. But if they show up and say, genuinely, it's my first job, I would expect them to not know anything IT related, or maybe like things you would know if you're doing IT as a hobby, like we do from, around the house and stuff, but not, too much in-depth stuff.
How we doing, Lee?
I still.
Are you just fine?
You do? Okay.
Yeah. I thought
like,
you were back because I could kind of hear some of that extra audio, so I thought you would be back. Did you have anything you want to say on this one?
I was saying earlier that I agree with O'Grady that experience, even 1 year, if you have even 1 year of experience as a system administrator or a network engineer or whatever, and you're making progress and the people around you are telling you that you're making progress, even if you suffer from horrendous imposter syndrome and you feel like you're under fear of death that someone will find you out, if people are telling you you're making progress, then that 1 year is worth it. You already passed the biggest hurdle. You have the job, you are doing the work, you're learning. Stay where you're at and just keep learning. That's what I'd do.
I mean, that's perfect advice. Is once you find that first company, stick with them for, I don't know, I think we're going to talk about later about job hopping, but stick with them for at least 3-4 years. If they're going to be that company that accepts you and knows that you're new and this is your first step, take all you can and learn all you can from it. Use it as a positive stepping stone.
I would say the most useful thing, the most valuable thing, and I don't think there's a question on this, is mentorship. If you end up working with someone, and I'm very developer biased, right? So like, I don't know how well all of what we're answering fits infrastructure. Right, yeah. It's also my train of thought. So yeah, I'm very developer biased. Like I don't know how much this applies to sysadmins, yada yada, but someone who's a senior who can give you pointers and can guide you for about a year will definitely be worth a lot more than a lot of the other things that we still value.
Yeah. And I feel like once you have that minimal experience, the next step isn't a 4-year degree. The next step is, what's your first certification going to be?
Yes. Yes. And once you're in, forget degrees at that point, in my opinion. Start going for certs and
Yeah.
build your portfolio of certs. That's worth something.
Yeah.
That's worth a lot if you go to another company and say, well, I got these. And it's just.
Yeah, let's say
Also, having things like GitHub,
Mhm.
having a blog that has good content on it that's current, those show what you know as well without the degree. So
you've been putting stuff on there for a year or more, and it wasn't
Yeah.
just like you
Mhm.
started putting it up there when you got fired. Then they'll say, oh yeah, I can
Right.
see your progression over time.
yeah.
Next question. We good with
Yep.
the next question? Okay. Do you feel like being in the Midwest, specifically STL, St. Louis,
Mhm.
that you have less tech opportunities or options?
Not at all. So I read this question, and I think that we have just as many tech opportunities as each of the coasts. Now, are there more big tech companies on the coast? Yeah. But every single company is a tech opportunity. There's no company out there that is going to be successful that doesn't have some sort of IT guy or IT department. We also have big companies like Boeing, Anheuser-Busch, MasterCard that hire thousands of people around here. So, I mean, I don't see the disparity of job openings when I was looking. So, I don't think that's true.
Yeah. I've
I
never
don't
lived
feel it,
anywhere
yeah.
but the Midwest, so I can't compare. But in times when I have been looking for jobs, they're rare. They're really, other than late December, when nobody's hiring because they're waiting for their new budget to come in next year. There really isn't a shortage of opportunities. So I don't think it's a problem being in St. Louis. I don't think you're limiting yourself. I don't think you have to move to Chicago or go to New York or whatever to find a job. Now, maybe if you have a specific company that you want to work for, yeah, maybe you have to move. But outside of that, I don't think you have to move away from St. Louis or the Midwest in general to find work in the IT world.
And not to mention, even if you find a specific company that you really like, a lot of companies in the IT world are doing work from home. The company I work for, we have. See, I have someone on my team right now that's that's in Thailand working. So that kind of there's a 2-second delay on when we use
Yeah.
whatever we're using, Twilio or but it's 2-second delay, so it's kind of annoying when you're talking, but make it work. So a lot of companies don't care about distance anymore. They care about, can you do your job? Do you have a setup to do your job? Yeah. All right. And of course, that's my side. I don't know if you guys have a different, if it's different in nowadays for your section as opposed to developers.
Yeah. So I think I agree with both of you. I think no, there's not a limit to our options. There's still a lot of companies around here in IT. I think if you only pay attention to Google and Amazon and Microsoft, the FANG companies, then yeah, those are somewhere else. But even before the pandemic, there was tons of options. And then as far as there's a pandemic, then because the next comment is, did the pandemic change anything? And so I'm kind of jumping ahead, unfortunately. But I think all that's happened is remote's becoming more and more open. So the few things that we couldn't have done, we're now able to do. You can definitely get a job at Microsoft or Amazon or Facebook remote, right? I would say, especially at the big companies, they're more able to spin the finances, get the resources, and get people going.
And like Dunn says, they might have you move local, but still work from home, or be more relaxed.
All right. Yeah. So, do we have any more on this question? Any more comments on this question, or
about how the pandemic changed? The way I looked at that was, it was a very split time for IT, but I think overall it caused a shift that companies realized that IT did not need to be in-house and that they were saving money by having IT out in their own homes.
Yeah.
And when I was recently looking for jobs, got a new job 4 months ago. So I was looking recently, and I think developers now, or IT in general, are starting to understand their worth more, because we can say, I don't want to work at these 4 companies because they don't offer work from home. And the companies are starting to feel that. They're not able to get developers. They're not able to get people that would be good hires, because developers or IT is starting to understand our worth and know that pay us what we want. We do a lot of work. We solve math problems for freaking living. Our brains hurt.
Sometimes they're fun.
Yeah, I love it, but but it is. It's us knowing that we're valuable. IT is a very valuable asset, and I think the pandemic really showed the rest of the company that.
Yeah. We've been doing a lot of growth in my company, and hiring has been difficult. If you're even remotely mid-level, senior level, everyone knows now that if they want remote, they're comfortable saying no to my company, right? If they want fully remote. So yeah, like, I just think that they know there's options, right?
Yep.
They could definitely move on to whatever else and interview people who are just remote, and there's plenty of options. We
Doug said
good on,
he said
go ahead.
his old place let everybody work from home but cut a shift, as in like they weren't working full 40s. Excuse me.
Yeah, could you elaborate on that a little bit, Dunce? Do you mean that they were working 4 days, 8 hours a week, so they were missing 8 hours per week from their paycheck? What does that last
Yep.
comment mean?
32 hours a week on that. And while we wait for that, they had 24-hour coverage.
Oh, so they just had to
Shifts.
do the same amount of work in less shifts.
Hmm,
Which,
okay.
if you're working from home, honestly, I would probably still prefer that.
Yeah.
I tend
All
to
right,
work
so
more hours at home.
I would
anyway,
definitely
so-
like to get at least to this next question before we wrap up, because I think it's an important one.
Yeah, let's go.
the changing
The
companies
job
one?
hopping question. Yeah.
All right, so yeah, we'll answer this question, and then we actually got a lot of questions from you guys. I really appreciate it, and we're running short of time, so we'll do one more question, and then we will find someone to raid, and then we'll, I guess, do this again next week. So send in more questions. We appreciate this. So the question that's up is: do you think, in tech specifically, that you can change companies more frequently, aka job hopping, without affecting your work record, say versus accountant? So as a developer or IT person, are you able to job hop more often without the negative side effects versus accountant who's like 9 months at each job?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and respond to that. I can't compare it to other things because I haven't been other things that matter or that would be comparable. In general, I would think that the answer to that is yes. You could move more frequently as compared to other places or other kinds of jobs. And I think that as long as you're someplace 1 to 2 years and then you move on, it's not going to affect your work record. If you're in the habit of, if you leave a trail of 6-month jobs behind you, that's a problem.
Yeah.
I would think that's a problem, because it would tell me something didn't go right in the decision-making process for you. You took a job or you took several jobs that were not a fit for you in some way.
Mhm.
And I would call that into question. But if you're staying someplace 1 to 2 years and then moving on, and your resume shows growth, and that by that I mean additional skills are showing up as time goes on in your resume, then I think it's probably fine.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think the average turnaround time right now in IT is like 6 years, like five years. Um,
I'm surprised that it's that high.
well, I say that average right now. That was probably last time I looked it up was probably 3 years ago. So you know it was before the pandemic. So it might be completely different now. But before the pandemic, it was about 6 years. That's when you're expecting someone to leave. So if you're working with someone, you start at the same time, you expect that person 5 to 6 years. Now there are companies. If you find a company you want to stick with that you think treats you right, stick with them for 50 years. It's whatever. I don't think it's required, but it's also not looked down upon as much as other professions.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. The partner question is, do you think you actually have to change more often in tech to keep growing? And it says versus other industries. That depends on what's happening at your company. If you're in a role where there's always new stuff being thrown at you, then I don't know that you have to move just to keep growing. Pretty much all the jobs I've been in, if the longer I stayed, I continued to be exposed to new things and learn. So but I know that's not always the case. Some people get into roles and they're like, I've gone as far as I can go. I actually experienced that myself, not in IT, but in the roles I was in just before I got into IT. I was a supervisor at a call center, and that was as far up as I could go without moving into department management level, and breaking into that at that company was next to impossible. So that's part of what actually pushed me into IT. But no, I don't think you have to change necessarily more often. Just it depends on what's happening for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in IT for a while at a company and you don't have any new problems coming across your desk, then yeah, maybe you do need to move.
Yeah. If you don't feel you're growing, if you feel stagnant in your job, then yeah, it's more of a personal kind of choice as far as like if you feel like that. Because there's some people, like Lee was saying, that like just kind of working, doing the same thing. That's fine. And then sometimes it's also required because the company's not, giving proper raises or treating you how you should be treated. Sometimes a company you pretty much have to threaten to quit in order to get something. Well, at that point, yeah, maybe do another hop.
Yeah, for sure. Did you have any wrap up thoughts, Anthony, or anything else you wanted to?
Yeah, I was going to go ahead. Yeah, I'll go ahead and answer the question. The two questions we just did.
Mhm.
And then O'Grady, do you want to go ahead and start looking for
Got one ready.
Oh, okay. So you're waiting on me. All right. So do you think tech you can change companies more frequently? I think you can get away with it more because we all in the field know that sometimes the quickest way to get a raise is to leave your company, right? That's unfortunate, but it is. If you have a higher value than what you currently get and the hiring manager agrees, then you're going to get more money. the other thing I want to point out is a lot that the whole job hopping, quote unquote, is very subjective, and it depends on the hiring manager and their biases and what they've dealt with in the past. One thing that we have in our industry that's a major player in this is consultants. Some people work for a consulting company and they will be a hired gun who jumps from company to company every 6 months by design, that they're supposed to swoop in, take care of business, and they move on, and that's the arrangement, right? So we got to factor that in as well. But one thing I think Lee said, sorry about that. One thing that Lee said that I liked was the growth. If I see someone who's been at 6 companies the last 7 years, and I'm looking at the resume, I'm about to talk to them. If I see I'll talk about DBA, I guess, junior DBA tasks there, and then they're still kind of doing that, that's different than they have junior DBA stuff, and then it gets more senior, and then they dabbled in data engineering and they came back to DBA. I'm like, there's a story there, and I get to hear that, which is awesome. And then there's the growth. And then, do you think you actually have to change more often? I would turn that around and say that's on you. If you you're the only one that's in charge of your growth. So if you aren't growing at your company, then you're going to have to leave. If you're happy there and they give the opportunities to grow, then you don't have to leave. So I think it's really just on you. You don't have to move unless you're just not doing what you want to do or growing the way you want to grow. We are lucky, in my opinion, we're privileged that we can do that. Yeah, if you work at a factory putting shoes together and you think you can make more money somewhere else, and that may not work that way. You go to another factory, make a different kind of shoe, you're probably just starting over in the union, right?
Yep.
So we're privileged in the fact that we always have an exit option.
Yeah, I will say, like, my dad has built airplanes at Boeing in St. Louis for my whole life, and he thinks I'm insane when I'm like, oh yeah, I'm looking, for a new job. And he's like, what do you mean you're looking for a new job? You have a job. I'm like, okay. Then he called me spoiled because I told him I'm requiring work from home. So there is a generational gap as well. Like,
yeah,
I feel like in IT, we're all in the same phase of, like you said, it's kind of a known thing that moving around is not that big of a deal. Whereas in a manufacturing world, like working for Lockheed Martin or Boeing or something like that, you don't move. Like, you got a job. There's your life. So.
Yeah. I think it's probably good that we admit that we have that privilege, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
A lot of other industries can't just do that. As far as wrapping up, and any one of these videos that you miss, remember, you guys can pick them up on YouTube. We look forward to you guys joining us on a Discord.
Yeah, definitely.
Talking with us, ask us questions. And since we have a list of questions here, and we're going to be doing this again next week, I believe, send us more questions. And if you did send in questions, we didn't forget about you. We just ran out of time.
I put the stuff in the stream. Go check us out on Twitter. Go check us out on Discord. Come hang out. Add some more questions. And we're going to go ahead and raid Icy. And everybody go say hi. Senator Fowler. And tell her that we sent you. Everybody do like raid messages. I don't know. All right. Catch you all next week.
All right. See you
Bye,
guys later.
everybody.
See ya.